So Tim, help me. How do I pronounce your last name?
You pronounce it Freke.
Yeah?
Yeah, really.
I always tell about Tim Freke, just like Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like the same. I never know with Eckhart. People,
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
So
How do you pronounce Eckhart's second name?
Yeah, in Dutch we say Eckhart Tolle.
And what does he say?
Yeah, Tolle?
Tolle?
Or
Toll?
Toll.
So you still don't know, and you've done
No.
it. I don't know.
No.
When he lived in my friend's house, but I still don't know.
No.
But I am Freke. It's how it's pronounced in
Yeah.
England. It's Freke.
Mr. Freke.
Mr. Freke. How mad is that?
So you're a stand-up philosopher,
Yeah.
but now you're sitting down.
Yeah.
Here in Holland, it's the first time you talk about this stuff here, or?
Yes. Yeah. No. The first time I've been to a conference like this here, but I actually came across and ran a whole retreat here some years ago, and I went to the Happiness Conference, and they put me on for a day.
Magazine.
Yeah, magazine. They put me on for a day when my book Lucid Living, which I'm not sure what the translation is, come out in Dutch, but I'm not sure what it's called in Dutch.
Lucid living. What's a good translation? Lucide leven. I think about that. So what's the main difference between English audience and a Dutch audience? Is there any difference? People have to translate stuff you talk about. It's not daily stuff for them. They have to translate. Do you sense anything of that? It's more mental?
No.
No.
No, and I get a lot of Dutch people come to England to my retreats in Glastonbury. In fact, I've been meeting up with various Dutch people that have come to Glastonbury and gone through the Mystery Experience retreat process with me and have become friends. And a lot of Dutch people come across on a regular basis. So that what I love about the retreats I run is that although I do them in England, or I do them all over the world, but mostly in England, it's a completely cosmopolitan audience.
Yeah.
It's not people who are local. It's people from all over the world. And you're getting all these different nationalities, and actually, it doesn't seem to make any difference at all.
The words you speak are secondary?
No, I think the words are important, but the people who come obviously are able to make the linguistic leap, which is I respect immensely. So they've got that ability, and then the place we're going is beyond the words, and as that becomes more apparent, you meet through the differences, and then the differences, the fact that there are these cultural differences for sure, becomes a great delight. It's like, oh, you're like that, and I'm like this, and it becomes. I see the beauty in that because you see what's behind it is one.
Universal.
Yeah, so you see the one coming up through the many, the one essence with all of these different qualities, which come through different people, but then also through the vector of nationality and language, and I can appreciate that.
But you do stand up, and from my experience, English humor and Dutch humor, it's a little bit of difference. Is it hard to make someone from the Netherlands laugh?
It's difficult when you're working with a translator, because then you say the thing, then they translate it, then they laugh.
The moment is gone,
and it's like a slow.
Yeah.
But when people are, and I think an awful lot of the things that I do, I'm very rarely telling jokes. It's more about seeing the humour in the human predicament, and often just in the moment. And so a lot of that is things which I find in my body. So then it becomes something which is just funny anyway, just because you see the moment. So then I don't think it makes any difference.
Okay. The mystery experience. What's it about?
It's about this. It's about the mystery of existence. What happens to consciousness when we notice the most obvious thing about our predicament, which is that no one knows what it is.
So you can tell us what it is.
I know. No, I can just tell you the obvious, that no one knows what it is. And what I try and do in the book is just explore it, because for me that's what my life's been. I've been so obsessed by the mystery and I guess I started off probably thinking that the mystery was something I would solve. Whereas it's gone in a big circle, and I've suddenly realized the mystery was the answer I was looking for. Because if I go deep enough into it, my questions dissolve into it. And what happens is a change of consciousness, which is hard to describe, which is why it's the mystery experience. But, I've got words, I'm a philosopher, so I do my best. And what happens is that there's this, it's like, for me, I call it being deep awake. It's like there's awake, and then when I'm living in my story, when I've just got my idea, this is where I know things, and then that doesn't go, that's still there. Well, thank goodness, otherwise I'd be lost and wouldn't know who I was and where I was going. But underneath it, there's like, oh, there's this, like, what is this? What is, nothing's what it seems. This isn't really here, you know, we know that. And everything turns inside out. And as I relax into that, there's this profound sense of oneness with everything. Because in the mystery, there's no differentiation. There's nothing that's known. And it's discovery of what I call the deep self. It's like the ground of being is arising. I see it like I'm arising from the ground of being, meeting everything else which is arising from the ground of being, but it's all the ground of being. So there's this incredible oneness. And that translates itself in Tim, into this thing, as love. I find my falling in love with everything. And that's something really in my body. It's like, oh God, this love of being. And not just being Tim, but being grass and being sky and being you, especially in other people. So that my experience of life is suddenly transformed when I come into the mystery. So what I do in the book is to take people into this doorway, is to go into that profound sense of not knowing and find that at the heart of the not knowing there is a kind of deep knowing of something before words. So that there's this strange paradox where I start with knowing, come through not knowing, and find this deep knowing. And the deep knowing, then I have to try and bring back to this through words as a philosopher, and try and find ways of communicating it in a way that can lead people on that journey. And so the book is a journey into the mystery, which is both an exploration of yourself, an exploration of life, and ultimately a journey to love. A journey which opens you out into this loving being and being loving, engaging with life in a whole new way and entering into the adventure of being human in a new way.
But this deep knowing, can it be put into words?
Well, yes and no. But I guess that's like that with everything, really. It's, you know,
like tasting something.
Really, you know, everything. Music. How could you can you put that into words? Well, you know, yes and no. If you're familiar, if I say, oh yeah, I listened to a piece of music that had a kick-ass beat, and you know what that means, you can go, okay, I've got an idea of what you mean. But if you didn't know what it meant, what? And it's the same with this. If people can find something which they go, oh, I know what that means, then you can communicate. So the place I start with on the journey is something that everyone knows what it means, which is wonder. Everyone knows what it's like to feel wonder.
Sense of awe.
Yeah, just that, looking at this moment, rather than just going, yeah, but looking at it and going, wow. Wow, look at those daisies. Feel that on my, just noticing this moment. And that wonder, and then that opens it up, I think. That opens up a doorway through which you can start a journey which goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the mystery of what life is, which you can use words to navigate, but they're constantly pointing to you to the experience, just like the description of the music is pointing you to the music that you want to actually hear, which is not beyond words.
So could you call it a tasting?
Yeah, I use that word a lot. And I think, you know, ideas is what we've got to help ourselves be conscious of all of this. So for me, there's one central idea which I introduce quite early on in the book, which unlocks a lot for me. And that's the idea that we need to think about this in a new way, because fundamentally life is paradoxical. That's its nature. The opposites in life coexist. They are both two and one at the same time. A bit like the yin-yang. They had it all that time ago. Is it yin, is it yang? It's both at once, and they interpenetrate. And our normal way of thinking, which I'm logical thinking, which I think is great. I really think logical thinking is fantastic, and admire it immensely. But it's only good on the surface of life, because it's based on, it's either this or it's not this.
Duality.
Yeah, so and for most purposes, that either-or aspect of duality is fine. You know, we're either inside or we're outside. We're either doing this or we're not doing this. You know, you can understand life in that way. But then when you come to looking at the depths of life, it's fundamentally paradoxical. And then you need what I call paralogical thinking, which goes, at the depths, it's not either or, it's both and. The opposites coexist. So that, well, an example from what we've already touched on is that when I'm going, look, I don't know what this is, That's not altogether true. I have a whole load of ideas about what this is, and they're fairly useful in my life. If I didn't have them, we wouldn't have this conversation. I wouldn't know what the words meant. I know how to speak. I know what, there's obviously I know loads.
Yeah.
You know how to do this. So I both know and I don't know. It's like I know here, but underneath, I don't know what life is. It's built on nothing. So, which is true? They're both true. Now, logical thinking has to go either or. And a lot of spirituality gets stuck in this either or, which sets this opposition up. For instance, on the surface, here, everything is separate. We're separate. We're having individual experiences. We're individual centers of consciousness in a world full of separate textures and
Smells.
qualities.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything. But underneath, it's all one. Now, one of the paradoxes I see is that a lot of non-duality can get caught up into either-or thinking, which sets up this, it's either one or it's many. So manyness is an illusion, the separate self is an illusion, your humanity is a problem. Get rid of all of that and then you'll see it's one. For me, that feels profoundly mistaken. What I'm seeing is it's both at the same time, so that we are both separate, and if we sink into our deeper being, we're also not separate. But the separateness hasn't gone anywhere, it's still here. And what I found running these retreats that I run, called Mystery Experience Retreats, is that it becomes much easier for people to actually experience the profound oneness and feel the deep love. Feel it in every cell in your body. If you get that both and understanding. Because an awful lot of people understand it intellectually and then go, but I'm not experiencing it because this damn separate self is still here. It's my ego, my something, and if I could just get rid of that damn thing, and it's like, stop thinking, or, all these things which you can't do because separateness is also real.
Yeah.
And
fighting the separateness.
And you're fighting the thing which is also real.
Yeah.
Rather than going, right, this is real in its own way, and then there's the other pole of the paradox, and that's equally real, and I've missed that. So I'm stuck in the story, and I've missed the mystery. Or I'm stuck in the separateness, and I've missed the oneness. But don't allow this. This is fine. It's beautiful, actually. Find the other as well. And it's really obvious, or becomes much more easy to see. And then you've got both. And then, paradoxically, rather than disappearing and becoming some meaningless thing, the adventure of life, I think, becomes profoundly interesting. And the colours become brighter, and it starts to sparkle, and the meeting of two individuals becomes not just like hi, it becomes wow. This is amazing.
So there's self and no self both at the same time.
It seems like that, like yin and yang. Which is true. They're both true depending on which way you stand. I mean, example I use is from physics, because I think we need spirituality to integrate with deep science, because it's an objective study of the mystery, like spirituality is a subjective study of the mystery, and they fit paralogically. They do that as paralogical pairs. And what I love about so much I love about science, one that I'm doing, right here, it's like, here's my hand. To say it's not there would be insane. And
if
yet,
I cut it off with
it's like, exactly. It's not really there. It's like, the Zen master, everything is emptiness. Cool, blimey, did that hurt? Yeah, all of that. But it's also not there. It's 99.999999999 nothing.
Yeah.
So which is true? Well, they're both true. So what happens if we live in a way that we can see both? It's here and it's not here. And that puts us in a very interesting place. Or the wave particle thing, that you get in the light. What's light? And it turns out that it's both a wave and a particle, which I love. It's both many or one, depending on how you look at it. Which is it? It's both.